What's going on, people? Welcome back to another episode of the Uncensored Critic podcast. Thank you so much for joining me again for another very special episode with another very special guest. And yet we have another member of the GSA family with us today, and that is the great Adam Boardman. Adam is an actor who trained at the Guildford School of Acting on the BA acting course. His credits include, you might find him actually around the country right now in the current UK tour of Les Miserables. He is ensemble and a backup to a little known character called Thénardier, and of course he actually got the honor of playing Thénardier the other day. So I saw your Instagram post the other day, and that must have been quite an experience. I've just smashed my microphone. That's a great start, isn't it? Adam is currently the cover for Thénardier Lamer's UK and European national tour. His other credits include Casca in Julius Caesar on the RSC UK tour, Puck in A Midsummer Night's Dream with the Verona Open Air and Berkeley Castle Company, Leonardo in Much Ado About Nothing for, again, the Berkeley Castle and Blind and Palace. He has also appeared on television and film. His credits include The First Team for BBC Two / Fudge Park, Woodrow in Bleachy Doomsday, different world films. Adam is also featured in commercials for brands including Google and Tesco, and he's a blinking and shining light into the industry right now, and it's a fantastic opportunity to talk to you today. Adam, how are you, sir?
All good. Like I say, I've got a couple of days off from Les Mis, so it's nice to be back in London and chilling out. Yeah,
fantastic. You know, how's it going so far with the Les Mis tour?
All good. Yeah, I've been sort of associated with Les Mis now since 2019. I started in October 2019, so it's coming up to 3 years of being in it with a big 2-year gap. Well, 18-month gap for COVID. So it feels like we're on the last stretch, even though it's still got 5 months left. It feels like we're coming to the end because I've been in it such a long time. It's a funny feeling of looking forward to maybe what's happening next, and also, you know what I mean, the money, you know, all that sort of thing. So yeah, it's a funny little feeling.
As I'm sure you'll be absolutely fine, man. Yeah, I remember you saying because we first met you on that Zoom call and in GSA a few weeks ago, back in the Careers Week with the great Grania Burns. A little shout out to Grania, hey Grania, and I remember you saying about how, of course, you had the break with COVID, and then the producers of the company said when the theaters were getting back up again, they were like, Adam, do you want to come back? And you were like, yep, yeah, I'd love to come back.
It's not a no-brainer, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
I felt very, very lucky, very fortunate to be an actor who had. It was never guaranteed that it'd go back, but a big juggernaut like Les Mis, you're sort of hoping that it will.
Of course,
yeah. So I always had that in my back pocket. So yeah, as soon as he said it, it was a no-brainer.
Absolutely. So I've got a few more questions about Les Mis for you, but we'll get onto those just a little bit later. So I'd like to kick things off on this show with a starter question for everyone. To begin at the beginning, as Dylan Thomas says, where did the spark of inspiration for you come from to be an actor? Where did it all start? Where did it come from?
It's a funny one, really. I started very late, you know, especially if you think in the terms of musical theatre. You know, you've got some of these girls and boys who are on ballet shoes and point at 4 years old, and you know, ripe to become the best British musical theatre star from that age. Whereas for me, I probably first started really thinking about going, quite like this at about 16. There is no theatre in my family. Other than Nana's old VHSs of Roger and Hammerstein's, or there is literally no theatre. I'm from a real working class family of not labourers, but people who work on tools. My dad was a roof tiler. You know, my pops, my granddad, he worked in various plumbings, and you know, we're a real working class family. So growing up, I was a rugby lad. Not because I really enjoyed rugby, just because I was a bit too fat to play football. And we're a football family. And when you're a young lad, if you're a stocky young lad, you can absolutely be a brilliant rugby player. So I got into rugby, and I ended up again sort of really getting encapsulated in that as a young age. And I was playing for county and various, you know, high levels at academies and things, and it was looking like that was the way I was going. It was rugby, and it was in school. I had a teacher like we do. Again, another sort of the stars aligned a little bit. It turned out the school I was at, my comprehensive secondary school, was a college of the arts. So I sort of grew up with just expecting all schools to have a top of the art drama studio, state of the art rather, you know, music studio, music, instruments everywhere. And, you know, this is just a comprehensive outside Manchester, you know what I mean? And it's huge funding for the arts. So one of the teachers is like, come and be in Billy Elliot. We're doing Billy Elliot. And me and my best mate still, who's a military man now, but we were both in the rugby teams. We were like, oh, let's do it for a laugh.
Yeah.
Lo and behold, did that, got a bit of a taste for it. And I think then at 16, I auditioned for a college called Pendleton in Manchester, which is again just another Star Alive moment. It's the local college. That's where you go. You go there if you're doing physics, sports science. But it just turned out at the time, and probably still now, it has one of the best sixth forms for performing arts. So I just auditioned for it, and they were like, yeah, you can do it if you want. And then I also got into a rugby college. So it was like, at 16, do I go and do what I've been doing for the last 5 years, or do I go and do something completely different? And I went for something completely different. I think I was yearning for something a bit different. I was yearning to spice it up a little bit, even from that age. Looking back, I think, you know, I always wanted to do something a bit different. I wanted to sort of get away from the town I'm from. Not, you know, I love it there, but I just wanted to do something different. And I think that from an early age is the sign. And to be fair, I'm very lucky. I've got parents that were like, okay, so you've been doing this musical theatre thing, because I went and did a musical theatre course at sixth form. You're doing this musical theatre acting thing for what, 6 months, but you've been doing rugby for 10 years. All right, go and do that then. You know what I mean? So I was very supportive parents in that sense. And then, as my fiance says, who did train as an actor, but isn't anymore because she decided early doors that it wasn't for her. She said, and it's a hobby that got a little bit out of hand. And I think that's what happened to me. I enjoyed it, got to Pendleton, did it there, I loved it there. And then the next thing was drama school, and then and I'm still doing it now. And I'm a bit like, oh, how now did that happen? Because it was definitely never planned. So yeah, the inspiration, I suppose, was yearning for doing something a bit different from a town where I'm from. No one does what I do. I still like going home and chatting to the boys who, you know, are, you know, various different trades. And, you know, I'm, for lack of a better phrase, mentally about.
No, I relate entirely, mate. You know, I grew up doing rugby as well. I played at the local club and everything. And I don't know, because my granddad was a rugby player and everything. So I thought like the sports genes were in the family.
Yeah. That's it. We're a football family. No one plays rugby either. So I just think, it was just a funny one. Still love me sport, still love me football, but yeah.
Oh, you know what question's coming next, don't you? Who's your team?
Man United. I'm from Salford. So I will never take any of this criticism that I am now a London Red, or I'm certainly not a Glory supporter anymore. But yeah, I'm from Salford. Davis football team, Man United, and I'm proud of that. Proper proud of that. Going up.
Oh yeah.
I used to be a season ticket and used to love it in my football hooligan days.
Football hooligan days. You never lose it, but I've learned to sort of like tame my football.
Oh god, yeah. Like I've learned.
Yeah.
You a football fan?
Yeah, I'm an Arsenal fan. So yeah.
There we are. Well, you really have to tame your anger. Doing all right now, but I think I had to learn that early doors. Like a funny little tip I have for any football fans who might be listening is if we have an absolute howler, it does bother me. I just think of all my mates, all my family who are United fans who are feeling the same way, and it makes me feel a little bit better.
Oh yeah.
So that's my little thing I do. I just go, it's all right, Boardman. It's not just you that's annoyed here.
Yeah.
Everyone else, they are annoyed as well. No problem shared is problem halved.
No, I know the same thing, and I've, you know, being an Arsenal fan my whole life really, but the last sort of 5 years have been very. I mean, we went had a lot to cheer about over the last 5 years, but sadly we went to Old Trafford the other week, and sadly we lost. But I thought we were the better team, but you guys got 3 opportunities.
Probably were actually.
Yeah, no, but you guys deserved it. You got 3 chances and took them. We were just like, someone put a meme out on the internet of, remember that scene from Indiana Jones? I think it's Raiders of the Lost Ark. You got him facing off against some guy in the Middle East. He's got a sword. He's doing all these tricks and like that. I just went bang. So that was you guys to us, basically.
That is spot on, actually.
Yeah, I thought. I mean, I was like, inside, I was like, I hate that, but sadly, it was actually quite accurate. But yeah, it was, anyway. But football is life, I suppose.
Yeah.
So I've been watching.
I think there's a real. I think there's a lot. You find a lot of actors. Obviously, football is the biggest sport in the world. Like, it's not just actors.
Yeah, no doubt.
I think there's a real drama to it. There's a real passion. There's a real there's a romance to football, which I think.
Yeah.
There's so many creatives who are obsessed with football. I just think it's that sort of game. It's just powerful.
Yeah, I'm probably going to get a bad stick for this, but screw it. I'm going to tell this story. So I don't come out of this story very well, but I'll just put it out there. This is when I sort of had to sort of tame my football hooliganism, sort of part of my brain or personality or whatever you want to call it. So Arsenal were in the Europa League a few years ago. It was Wenger's last season, and we got to this semi-final against Atletico. In the first 5 minutes, they had a man sent off, and they had their manager sent to the stands. And I was just thinking, this is us. This is our game, but this is ours for the taking. And then knowing Arsenal, we screwed it up. We conceded a goal in the last minute, and then I sat there and I had a few beers. I won't lie to you, but I went home and I was so livid. I had an Arsenal coffee mug in the cupboard. Right. I took it outside and I threw it against the patio wall. And again, I don't come out of this well, but my dad. That's it. Yeah, but my dad the next day looked at me and went, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I was like, "I'm fine." Yeah, I went too far. I'm sorry, but it's football. Football is life. I've been watching Ted Lasso recently, and Cristo Fernandez.
I need to stay because obviously Cristo Fernandez as well. Yeah, he was at GSA.
Yeah. He's a good friend of mine. He came in, did same week as you actually did that week of talks. He came in and it was very nice. And
I still need to watch it. Oh yeah, I need that's one on the list to me definitely.
No, it's a good watch. I can recommend it. Really, really good. So I think we sort of arrived quite quickly today at your role in Les Mis. And so am I right in thinking? I know you read out all your credits at the beginning, but what was the first thing that you? Sorry. So tell me about like your first sort of steps outside of drama school. So you finished GSA, you've done the showcase, you've done your final projects.
Yeah, I actually got my first couple of jobs whilst still at GSA, because obviously I was kicking the door down a little bit at GSA. Not that I had a fab time at GSA, and this is nothing to do with GSA. I just think, if anything, it's a credit to GSA that I was so keen to do it. Like going into third year, I was just like, I want to do this sort of now. I'm paying Spotlight. You pay for your Spotlight. You've had your red shots done.
Yeah.
At the start of third year, then people were coming in and saying, "You're actors now." I'm going, "Yeah, well, I am an actor, but it's not making me any money. This is a career." So I was keen, and I just started submitting myself for everything on Spotlight, stuff that I wasn't right for. The feed that we get as actors is obviously nothing like the agents one. And so I just put myself up for random stuff. And I remember I got my first audition in January, and it was at Spotlight. This is January third year. It was at Spotlight. It was for an infomercial about bombings. Actually, it was like an infomercial. They ended up full circle. I didn't get it. I had an absolute howler actually, but it was nice to sort of get that out of my system. When it didn't matter, I was at GSA. I went in, it was all improv, and it was it was a bit icky as an audition, looking back. But I obviously didn't get it. But then I was doing a bit of front of house work in between jobs about 3 years later, and we were doing like training on safety. And lo and behold, thank God I didn't get it. Just sat in front of 300 people, who I was working with, comes this video of this infomercial about how to see a package that's got a bomb in it. It was a whole thing. But then I kept submitting myself, and then I ended up getting the Tesco job at GSA. I was still at GSA. I went for the audition, got it, and GSA were good for that. They let me go. Let me go to it, and then I booked it, and that was just one of those food love stories things which has haunted me ever since. Actually, it's just a picture of me with a mac and cheese, and it was on billboards. Speaking of football, it was outside Old Trafford, it was outside White Hart, it was everywhere. What it did do, and I reckon that's why I recommend it when I speak to grads. I'm like, submit yourself for stuff. Like, you're not signed. I got to take home all that cash, no commission, and it wasn't big money. It's not the sort of money that your agent put you up for, actually. But for me, as a third year, he was about to go into London from Guildford. I got paid £2.5-3 grand for it. I ain't sniffing at that for a day's work. You know what I mean? So it
Exactly.
that was money that allowed me to go on and do other things. So I'm a big fan that GSA let me do that. And I actually signed off the back of Professional Jury, which is, do you still do that? Which is like the agent day, the panel day. I don't know if
we didn't. I don't think we had one of those. No.
Yeah. It's basically you go to Spotlight in town, and there's a morning session, afternoon session. There's about 10 agents in the morning, 10 agents in the evening, in the afternoon.
Okay.
You go in and do a couple of speeches. I actually got signed off the back of that, so that was in February. So I was signed quite early, maybe March actually. So I was auditioning through that latter part of GSA. And then I actually booked my first job, but didn't take it, which seems silly now. But I booked my first job, which was a tour with Payne's Plough. And I got it literally, I found out I got it at grad ball. So that was how close to graduating it was. It was right at the end. And I was also auditioning for a film at the time, a lead in the film.
Nice.
So obviously we were getting really close to the film, to the point where I had to turn down the play to carry on auditioning for the film. And you know how the story goes. You get to the last couple or whatever and you don't get it.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So like that was a lesson learned then. And then I did the stuff in Barclay in Verona. And then it was at the RSC at Christmas of the first year, which was really cool. So
nice. Fantastic. So what did you get Les Mis sort of a couple of years after you?
Yeah, so I did Caesar. And then so it was going well the first year, definitely. I got Caesar, I'd filmed a couple of shorts. I'd done the Shakespeare's, I did Much Ado and Midsummer. And then it went, not that it went quiet, I was auditioning, but just nothing was happening, And I was finding, it took about a year then for me to get Les Mis.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it took me about a year. And that was a year that was like, I had moments. I'd booked 2 adverts that were cancelled, which was tough. So, those little commercials that can keep the money going and keep you ticking over. And actually, I booked one that was cancelled pretty much straight after, but I booked one that was cancelled the day before we were shooting. So those were things. But then, it was, what I often find is you get in a cycle. So it's like, it's busy, say in October, and then it's busy in February. But if you get on a run of, I remember getting on a run of recalls, 2 or 3 things, and then none of them going your way. It's a big old wait then to get back on that run. Yeah. And that happened twice. I felt like I got close to a few things on 2 occasions and it just didn't happen. And then Les Mis came and I actually booked 2 jobs. I booked Les Mis and another job and I took Les Mis. So it was like, you wait for a bus, you know what I mean? And
yeah, of course.
Once.
Nice. And what's it? I mean, because you've been doing Les Mis now for, as you said before, like before the pandemic, and then they invited you back, and then now you've been doing it since then as well. I mean, it's what's it like being part of, possibly the greatest musical of all time?
Yeah, it's fab. It is fab. Like, Les Mis is just one of those shows, isn't it? I did the acting course at GSA, even though I started through sort of a musical theatre thing. And I'm not a musician, I can sing, but some of the singers you've got on the West End now, I can't do that, these big tenors and stuff like that. But I always was an actor who could sing. So Les Mis was one of those shows that just made sense, and yeah, it is fab. And it's huge. It is huge.
Yeah, massive, yeah.
One thing that I can never let myself take for granted, actually, is that we play to the biggest houses because I'm on tour, obviously, all over the UK. That are always sold out, pretty much. Yeah, they're always standing ovation at the end of the day, and it's just one of those massive shows. There's I think it's 90 odd of us that tour. A cast of 30, and then you've got orchestra, you've got crew, you've got chaperones, you've got the kids, you've got these local crew that we pick up on the way. We've got wardrobe, we've got so it's a proper big team of us that go from town to town, and we've just been in Norwich. Love Norwich, cracking little city. We're there, and you sit in places for a long time, which is another thing. When I was in Caesar, we moved every week, which is hard work. You do your shows Monday to Saturday, you move on the Sunday. We were lucky; we often got the Monday off, and then we do Tuesday, Wednesday, and the weeks would roll on. But we sit in places for about a month for Les Mis. And like a town like Norwich, lovely city, a little small city, we take it over. You can't move down the street without seeing someone, you know what I mean? But yeah, it's fab. I've done probably about 450 of them now. I think it's about that. Might be a bit more.
Yeah.
And you still don't get bored of it.
No, you never do.
The music, like the music is that good. And don't get me wrong, there's days where you're at work, you know what I mean? And it's hard, it's tiring, you're away from home. But I do love the job. And that's the key thing, I do enjoy the actual work of it. Sometimes the touring element or the routine around a big show is tricky. And that's what you can get tiresome of. You're seeing the same people every day, like everyone who's got a job. Everyone who works sees the same face every day, and it can get a little bit frustrating. But the job itself, that's what keeps you ticking over.
Absolutely. And of course, you also mentioned in your bio you went around Europe as well. Where else did you go?
Yeah, it was funny. So obviously before COVID, it was billed as the European tour.
Okay.
But because of COVID, we only actually ended up going to Zurich.
Okay.
And I don't think there was many. I think it might have been only Zurich and Dublin that was on the European tour. But yeah, going the opportunities that brings, like Zurich is a town you don't really go visit because it's so expensive, obviously, in Switzerland. But to go there with work was really fun. I think we were there for nearly 6 weeks, actually.
Oh, wow.
So we really lived it, the Swiss life. And that was good crack,
Yeah, champagne, caviar.
Well, I won't go that far. It's more, it was more, there's a pub. If anyone who's toured to Zurich everyone will know this pub called Sips, which is owned by a bloke called Simon Sip. And it's like in a block of flats, but it's the bottom flat, and it's built out to look like a sort of old English pub, but it's got ceiling tiles and everything's broken and it's a bit naff. The beer goes through a soda stream, but it's open 24 hours a day. So anyone it's not champagne and caviar, it's beer and Sips.
Well, I'm sure that's an acceptable alternative. So tell me about the ins and outs, because we met on Zoom a few weeks ago in that careers event as well, where we met yourself and Christo, and you gave a great in-depth discussion about the ins and outs of touring and how the not only just like life on tour, like moving from theatre to theatre, etc., but the actual kind of details of like where to go, like where to live and stuff like that, and how to sort of get the best deal for yourself when you tour. Could you sort of like recap some things?
I suppose it sort of stems from the talk that I do, which is called Surviving Your First Years Out. And we can chat about that in a bit if you want, about how that talk came about. But yeah, touring is getting harder, actually, in the sense that it's expensive. It's getting expensive. So there's different ways you can tour. So you're on tour, you get your wage and you get your subsistence, which has actually been upped now. Equity or subsistence has been up from £260 to £300 a week. That's what you get, basically. And that's for your digs, your food, travel separate. They'll pay you for your travel. So you've got that money, and people will often say to me, oh, where did they put you up? And it's actually, no, they give us the money and we put ourselves up. So it's good and it's bad. So it's good in the sense that if you can find somewhere to live for £100 a week, you're pocketing £200. Right. But that's getting harder to find. You can do the classic, what we call the classic theatre digs, which is staying in someone's back bedroom. I don't like it. No. It's a great way of saving money, because they used to be about, when I first toured, even that was only 4 years ago with Caesar. I remember I was doing some of that for like 80-90 quid a week. And then you're pocketing the rest, you know what I mean? Great. And when you're doing weekly touring, you don't mind it. But when you're sitting down places for a month, 6 weeks, like Les Mis does, you can't be sitting in,
someone's bedroom. No.
bedroom.
Yeah.
People do, and sometimes you have to. Like in Norwich, for instance. Norwich is a really tricky town to get digs in. Digs being like, normally I would get an Airbnb with a few of us, and we'd stay in an Airbnb or in an apartment, and we'd, if I'm spending £200 a week on that, that's good. I think that's a good deal. That, it only leaves you really with what would have been 60 quid, but now 100 quid for everything else, which is tricky. But you're looking, if you want to live, say if you're on tour and you're on your own and you want to live in a little flat on your own somewhere, you're spending upward of £300 a week. And that's just not feasible. That's just so expensive.
Yeah.
But yeah, Norwich, sorry, going back to that. Town's tricky to get apartments in, so a lot of us are in what we call hosted digs. I was lucky that I had the best ones I've ever had, actually. Really lovely lady. Got your own bathroom, got your own room. House is immaculate. Use all the appliances, kitchen, whatever. That's fine. Because you come and go. She was actually away for 2 weeks, but as well, so I had the gaff to myself, which was mint. But you hear some shockers, and it's the safety aspect of it that worries me as well. I had a horror story with one of the girls on tour when we got to Glasgow. We got to Glasgow at Christmas, and it's cold, it's wet, it's rainy, it's dark, and she's been billed that she's got a 1-bedroom flat for relatively cheap, but she had a 1-bedroom flat. She gets there, and it turns out it is a 1-bedroom flat, but the landlord is going to stay there and sleep on the sofa. Like, obviously.
Yeah. No,
we've got WhatsApp group. On the WhatsApp group, get out of there. Or you turn up and the pictures don't look like what they used to.
Oh yeah.
Or you get there and there is that sort of like one of the boys in the cast recently went there and he was in what I think was the kids' bedroom and she's moved the kids out into another. All these stinkers.
Yeah.
So for me, as a general rule, I go. There's always there's a pool of about 4 or 5 of us that will always get 2 beds, 3 beds, and we just look after ourselves in that sense. But that's the tricky part. Finding digs for a long tour it can be tricky. And I've already returned to ones I've stayed in before. Like we're in Canterbury next. The digs
that makes sense. Yeah.
I've been in there before, and you've got to book them early. The one I'm in a lovely digs called on little street called Love Lane. And I booked a month, literally nearly a year ago. And everyone's like, oh, who's got Love Lane? I was like, me. Because then everyone knows Love Lane digs are really nice. But that's another thing as well. Obviously, you get paid your £300 weekly. But if you're doing it through Airbnb or whatever, you know what it is. You have to pay 50% up front. So, you're paying for, paying £1,000 out to digs that you're not going to be in for 6 months. Yeah. And so the money side of it can get a little bit tricky. That being said, touring is fab. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's the tricky bit. But when you do get good digs, some of the places I've stayed in, honestly, some of the places are absolutely stunning. I've stayed in there's a brilliant place in Liverpool I stayed in, which was this really lovely Georgian townhouse. It was each floor had its own room. It was not practical, but it was lovely to live in. Kitchen was on the bottom floor, then that's all there was, and then the next floor up was the living room. Then next was a bedroom. Then the next, really cool little quirky house. Stayed in some bougie apartments. I remember we were in Hull of all places. A couple of the girls our mates were staying in a little penthouse thing that they got with a roof terrace and the sun machine. We get to stay in some lovely places. I'm just saying it's getting a little bit expensive. But touring, I've never done a long running show like Les Mis, like in town, for instance. I'm used to every month changing venue, the routine changes, the dressers, local dressers, the local crew, the backstage changes. So I sort of, that's like my the thing that helps me keep going. I find myself getting a little bit bored on the 4th week of a venue. I'm a bit like, let's go to the next one. Yeah. Well, that's the West End, I suppose, isn't it? You're there for the whole time. You're there for a year. So that's the bit that scares me about doing a long running show in town. But then my lifestyle will be different. I'll be at home with my fiance, and we do all the nice things that we get to do in London, rather than that. But we have lovely weekends away. Basically, we treat every venue as she'll come up, and we'll have a little nice day out, and you see the country, see the good, the bad. The show though, because it's looked after so well, never changes. The show, the only thing that might change is it might just be a little tighter on stage. That's honestly what the audience see. That's what I find quite remarkable, is literally will be the same as in size and scale everywhere. It's the West End production, but slightly bigger actually, because we can fit bigger houses put on tour. The backstage can be absolutely mental, completely different, but you'll never know when you're watching it in the audience. But that's quite amazing. It gets so well looked after. Oh yeah. Do you guys have a revolving stage everywhere you go? Because I know for One Day More there is a revolving stage in town. Yeah, so that's the old production. So Les Mis obviously opened in 1985, which was the RSC production at the Barbican. Yeah. That had the Trevor Nunn Revolve. That was in then the West End for years. And then 2010, they put out a new version, which is the tour, which is the one which they revived again from the one I'm doing, which doesn't have Revolve. But it's a bigger production, more modern, more sort of, they call it the 21st century Les Mis. It really is big. And then in 2019, they got rid of the original from town and put the new production in London. So now the production I do, which is the touring production, is also on in the West End. Yeah, so we've no Revolve, but we've got bits moving, flying, zipping about. It's big.
Nice. I mean, how did you get it? Was it just a phone call from your agent to say that you've got this audition for?
Funnily enough, at GSA, I've auditioned for Les Mis before. I auditioned for the original, and I was at GSA, and Les Mis come into GSA to audition musical theatre course. And obviously I could sing a bit and whatever, so GSA had organised that I go in with the MTs. And that year I got a recall, and I went, and it was for the Thénardier. It was for the same track. That's a very musical theatre term, track. Nice. As what I do now, I suppose, but in the original production. And I didn't get it, that's fine. And then I saw that it was on Spotlight about 3 years later, and I just rang my agent and said, listen, can we try get me back in? And we did. And I think I had 5 rounds, because they were auditioning, which is not many really. Some 10, 12 rounds of people. Yeah. And I was auditioning for the first 3 rounds were auditioning for the West End and tour. So they were trying to see where I fit in either. Obviously then they cast the West End one, and then they were like, right, we'll get you in for the tour. First round, classic, take your own stuff in, your own couple of songs. And then you start reading the material, which was for me the Thénardier stuff.
Nice. I hope I'm not bringing up bad memories for this question, but you've spoken about your best times in digs going around the tour. Yeah. What's been one of the worst experiences you've ever had?
Well, here's a story for you. I was doing Caesar, and like I say, Caesar, it was my first big job, and I was trying to figure out, I remember I turned up to the first day rehearsals, which were in New Year. We were the day after New Year's Day in the Barbican, and I think we did 4 or 5 weeks rehearsal for Caesar. And I turned up, and I was just like, right, bushy tailed, and everyone was like, so what are people doing for digs? And I'm doing this thing over there, and everyone was like, oh, we've booked all our digs. You have to book them way in advance. And I was like, oh. I had 5 weeks to find a tour's worth of digs, so I inevitably ended up in some howlers. We were doing the New Vic in Stoke. The brilliant thing about the Caesar, the production I did, was because it was the first encounter, we went into some schools as well. So it was a production that we put on in the theatre, and then maybe sometimes we didn't, but most weeks we'd go and do a production in a big school, and all the kids would watch, and they were fab. So the production was rehearsed to be quite fluid in its staging, as in we played it in the round, we played it cross, we played it thrust, we played it. We actually played it in a church, like a big old church with an aisle. Like we changed the production around loads. So one of the venues we did, which was the New Vic in Stoke, which is, I don't know if you've ever been, a brilliant thing. I really liked it there. I really liked my time. I was only there for probably a week, 10 days, and it's in the round. Anyway, so we got there, and I probably arrived on the Monday, and I checked into the digs, and I got there, and the lady opened the door, and I was like, I'm here for the digs. And she went, oh, it's my mum who runs that sort of stuff. I was like,
oh no.
She's like, we thought you were our Chinese. I'm not Chinese. Let me show you your bedroom then. So I went upstairs, dumped my bags, and I was like, it was literally the 3rd bedroom of this clearly family home. It was nice enough, but it was like, right, you share our bathroom. I was like,
oh, great. Okay.
I was like, no worries. And I just dumped my bags, and I was like, get me out of here. So I went and met everyone else, and we all went out. We ended up having a few beers. And obviously the few beers got a little bit heated, and we ended up going out a little. Not going out, but I remember it might probably been about 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm going,
yeah, sure.
I've got to go back. And I'm going back there, and I put the keys through the door, nice and quietly.
Yeah.
Obviously, I've not met the lady who's house at this point. I met a daughter waiting for a Chinese, and I opened the door, shut the door, and I'm halfway up the stairs, and I'm thinking, what's that? And I go downstairs, and I've had a couple of beers, but I'm not drunk by any means. I get downstairs, open it, 2 policemen.
Uh-oh.
What are you doing? I was like, I'm going upstairs. Who lives here? I was like, I don't know. He's like, do you live here? I was like, no. He's like, well, who does? I'm like, oh, she's called. I'm like trying to remember how, like, she's called Katie. I think it's Katie. And they're like, what do you mean you don't know? And they're getting a bit in my face. Like, what do you mean you don't know? Anyway, I get pulled out of this house by these two policemen, put on the bloody deck. I'm on the deck, facing the dirt, 1 o'clock in the morning in bloody Stoke. And anyway, it transpires after some heated conversation, the lady's car had been stolen.
Oh.
Someone had reported, a garage was like at the back of the house. So she didn't see it, but a neighbour had seen someone nicking her car. So the police get called, they come round, they see me stumbling up the driveway, fumbling with a pair of what they thought, they said they thought I was fumbling to get in. So they thought I've nicked the car, I've come back to get the house. And I've gone in, they've asked the door, they've asked me who I am, and I said it, and then they've gone, who lives here? And I said, I don't know. So I get dragged onto the pavement, and I remember it. What do you mean? I'm an actor. I'm an actor. I'm just here. I'm doing Shakespeare down the road.
I'm just playing Casco. It's not bad. It's all good.
Oh, God.
Oh my God. That's fantastic. I mean,
can you get her? We need to tell her the car's been nicked. I was like,
yeah.
So I go upstairs, knock on the door of the woman I've never met.
Uh-oh.
Hello. I go, hiya. It's Adam. She's like, whoa. She obviously a bit through. What do you want? I was like, the car's been nicked. The police are downstairs. I went to bed, woke up the next morning, packed my bags, left the money I owed her for a week on the kitchen top, and went and stayed in the Premier Inn for the rest of the week.
That's a good shout. That's a good shout.
Police it. But yeah, that was a pretty traumatic tour experience for me. Was the old being arrested for a car robbery I didn't commit.
Wow, that did you tell the cast? I assume you did, but what did they make of it?
Next morning, you better believe it. Yeah. When I turn up to the theatre with my bags while you're going, well, you're not going to believe it. I'm checking into the Premier Inn. Why? I was nearly arrested last night for robbing a car.
Yeah,
that was a bad one. But on Les Mis, to be fair, have I had any howls on Les Mis? Not really. I wouldn't say. I've been quite. Oh, there was one lady actually in Southampton who me and a friend. I booked the job, and I realised that when the cast was announced, a mate of mine who I've known for years from Pendleton was in it. So we're like, let's sort digs out together. We knew each other for 10 years, whatever.
Yeah, great.
We got these digs in Southampton, and it was billed as 2-bed annex, own kitchen, own ensuite each in big house. Right, so we turn up. And to be fair, by the annex bit, that's playing with the truth a little bit. We did have our own kitchen, and we did have an ensuite each, but it was on the second floor of a house where her bedroom was. Fair enough, whatever. And I remember us we got back from the show one night, and she was like, oh, let's have a cup of tea in her room. So we went into, as in my mate, so we went into her room, and the shower was on. What the bloody hell?
What's going on?
I said, just leave the shower on. And it was like a washroom. Not a shower, it's like an open washroom.
Yeah.
And in there was the digs lady, butt naked,
right,
showering. And we were like, why are you using the shower? She went, I was cleaning it, and it's just easier to shower whilst I'm cleaning it. And she's just a nod.
Right.
Not as bad as being arrested, but still a bit of a howler.
Oh, I don't have anything to counter that. That's the story of the day. No, I do have one story about I wasn't arrested as such, but I remember this was my first summer out of. Oh no, this is another bad story. Oh fuck it, why not? And so I was working at a local pub. So first summer out of uni, just done first year. Okay, right, I need a job. Like go to the local pub, make some money, and then go back and have some money to spend. And one night I was in the pub around the corner, and then a bunch of us went out for a work outing, as they call it, although we just went out into town and got drunk. And we ended up back at one of the girls' houses, and I was thinking, oh God, I'm drunk. I've got to go home. I am not in a good way. And funny enough, I did an Irish goodbye. Shout out to Roy and Tom. But if anyone doesn't know what an Irish goodbye is, I know this because I was told this by Cavan, who's a mate who's from Ireland. He said an Irish goodbye is when you just leave a party without saying goodbye. You just leave because you just got to go. And so I did one of them. And I was walking up the street and it was pitch black, all the street lights are out. This is about 1:30 in the morning. And I'm thinking, and I've got my torchlight. I'm literally just like walking up the path like that. And I see these headlights coming up the road behind me. And I'm thinking, okay, just don't pay any attention. Just don't pay any attention. And this car starts to slow down and stops next to me. And I'm thinking, what is this? I look to my left and it's the police. And this very lovely police officer. She looked up, she said, are you okay? I said, yeah, I'm fine, absolutely fine. We just saw a light up the road. We just wanted to see what that was all about. And I was like, no, I'm fine. I'm just trying to get home. Yeah. And they're okay, cool. And I don't know what came over me. I just looked at her and went, look, I just live around the corner. Would you mind taking me home? And she went, yeah, hop in. So I just got in the back of a police car and they took me home. And then I shook the policeman's hand and said, thank you very much. Thank you very much. And they were like, don't worry, mate, get home safely. And I was like, okay, great. The next day I get in the pub and they were like, Ollie, well, where did you go? Where did you go last night? Said, no, guys, it's cool. Relax. I got taken home in a police car. And they went, what? For like a year or two after that, they just kept bringing it up. And funny enough, the sort of main thing was my landlord in the pub, is quite a he's quite a stone-faced guy. He didn't really say a lot, but I went up to him one day and I said, oh, have you got my shifts for next week? He said, oh yeah, you're doing Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, stuff like that. I was like, cool. And then he went, oh, how was your night out with the guys the other day? I said, oh yeah, it was fine. Yeah, it was good fun. Yeah, I got taken up in a police car, so it's all good. And then he just went, sorry, what? And I was like, you've got to tell me this story now. Obviously, that doesn't even compare to your story. But I thought I'd get that out there. But
luckily I didn't get taken away in it though.
Yeah, but that's insane. That's insane.
Yeah, just like that's that's just one of those things. But I think if there needs to be, I think Equity are working on it. In fact, I know they are like sort of a rejig of how the touring system works. We're the only country, as far as I'm aware, that we have to organise our own digs. And even when you go abroad, so when you go to Zurich, when we went to Dublin, when tours go abroad from UK-based companies, they sort your digs out. So in Dublin was brilliant, actually. They put us up in everyone had their own little studio flat in a big block, really lovely, and it worked. It operated like a hotel. It had a gym, it had a bar, it had, but it was everyone had their own little studio. And then what you do is that you don't have to pay for that. They pay for that, and then you get given per diems, in cash.
Cool.
For your beer. And that system should operate a little bit more in the UK, I think. When we're playing these huge cities like Bristol and Manchester, and it's all right when you play in Hull and Norwich and places like that where you can walk home. But when you're staying in places like Bristol and you've got to live a bit further out of the city, or you like Glasgow, I lived in a nice part of Glasgow, but I had to walk all the way a mile down Sockhill Street at 11 o'clock every night to get home. And there was a few times where it got a bit tasty, you know what I mean? So I think the safety element of it can be looked at a little bit, I think, from companies. And obviously we have to take we make sure we walk home in pairs, and we, because there has been a few instances where people have been in a few instances, isn't that nice?
Yeah, no, I can imagine if I know exactly what you're gonna say. But it's interesting about how I was just thinking, I know the production company's budget is stretched enough as it is, set and 1,000,001 staff and cast to take care of and make sure they've got enough money to pay them. But do you think they could? I don't mean to sound like a snob right now, but do you think they could do more? Like for you guys, could they organise? I think for you. Do you think?
I think there should be listen, like you said, if the big powerhouses like your CanMax and those companies that have got lots of money, you could say they could throw money at a problem and say, right, we'll give you a bit more money, but that's it. Where I think it's actually a slightly more rooted problem, which is the quality of digs isn't good enough. You know what I mean? So I think it's actually And I think there's a website called Theatre Dig. I think there needs to be a regulator.
Yeah.
I think you can't host theatre digs and take money for it unless they've been regulated or meet regulations in some way. So I know the Theatre Digs Booker, which is a website which does what it says on the tin. You can book theatre digs through it. I think they're working with equity at the minute. I'm not an equity rep, so as in the company, so I'm not up to date with it exactly.
Yeah,
but I can speak to a friend of mine and I'll find out a bit too late now. But I think they're working to try and find something that's the problem. We can throw money at a problem because all what happens is they're not stupid. If you run theatre digs, we get £300 a week. So the prices get hiked. You give us £400 a week, the prices will just go up. What is happening is the quality, the actual regulation, some sort of ruling that dictates that the digs should be at a better quality. And we often, and I get it, places like Airbnb, they probably get shafted by your standard punters, people, stag do's, yada, 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 that go into, that use Airbnb for those reasons, for holidays and things like that. Whereas we're using it from a work perspective, and we make sure we look after those places.
Yeah, of course.
So I think sometimes we can get tired of that with a brush of, you've got to pay big deposits and things because you're going to wreck it. Well, no, like we've got to live there for 6 weeks. So yeah, I think that's what the problem is. I think it's a bigger problem than just throwing money at it. I think it's actually, let's make digs better.
Yeah, because it's living conditions, and you want to be in top shape for shows, especially if you're doing like a 2-show day. It's
just and I think what inevitably happens is I often used to go, let's do hosted digs, you can save a bit of cash, but you actually don't, because what you do is you don't cook because you don't want to use some randomer's kitchen, so you end up eating, if you're not eating out every day, you're eating crap. Or you, after every show, you sat in the pub because you don't want to go back. So whereas if I've got nice digs, I've probably paid about £100 more a week for, I'll cook every day, I'll go back and sit on my house and watch Love Island instead of going to the pub. You know what I mean? So I think there's that element of it where actually it pays to just have nice digs.
Yeah, because it's a healthy environment, healthy minds, all that kind of stuff. Absolutely. I'm curious to know about I love hearing actors talk about their various stage stories, and because I imagine I mean, not only because I think this is a bit of a side note really, because you've got kids in the production like the Eponines and the Gav Roches and stuff like that. The stories question, just wait for 1 second. But I've got a mate my mate Elliot Harper is currently Miss Trunchbull in town at the moment. Yeah, lovely man, and amazing actor as well. If you're ever in London and I'm not sure. Have you seen Matilda?
I haven't.
Yeah, well, if you want to see it, I go see it like now while he's there, because he is fantastic in it. He's very,
Laura
very
Byrne, she's a GSA girl. She's just been cast as Miss Honey as well, which is
amazing. Yeah. But he did a podcast, and he talked about how because obviously Les Mis is the amount of kids in that show is nowhere near the amount of kids in Matilda. But he talked about how the turnover and rehearsals and stuff like that, and you got with this group, and he said like 1 week they were effectively rehearsing like 12. They were doing 12 shows a week at one point because the amount of kids and stuff like that. What was it like for you guys?
We've had a couple, when you have a little cash changes, or so recently we've just had 3 new Gav Roches come. And yes, you do rehearse. I'm not a swing though. The swings take the good foot of rehearsals. I only really get called for the tech when the kids are in tech, and they need everyone there for tech conditions. But the swings, they do rehearse quite a bit. So they'll rehearse on stage throughout the week. We've got new casts starting as well. We've got a new Fontaine joining us, Lauren Drew. So we will be in fab, really forward to that. But we'll have we'll rehearse a little bit throughout the week. It does feel like you're rehearsing quite a bit, because you start and then it's cover rehearsals. You do your cover rehearsals in the day while the show's on in the evening.
Yeah, sure.
That'll happen. And then there's always a cover rehearsal. First covers, cover rehearsal, second covers, and then there's obviously a few little third covers, so you'll have a rehearsal for them. Then you get new kids. We've had a new Eponine, a second Fontaine, and we're going on to our third Fontaine. So you do rehearse, you do stay in rehearsals, and also because we tour, our first week, we preview. We have a press night in every venue, which is great, little party, lovely. But it's usually on a Friday. We'll arrive on a venue on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. We'll get there. We'll do a dress rehearsal, full dress rehearsal. A show the day after that will be a one-show day, but we'll rehearse in the day most likely, because inevitably things will need shifting. They'll bring a creative will come in and go, that's not as good as it used to be, let's fix that. Or it could be a case of spacing, it can be a case of tech, it can be they need to reposition the lights, so they need the people in. So we sometimes you're in slightly, but it's part of the course, it's the job. I can understand if you're on something like Matilda or School of Rock, or where the changeover is often, then it gets intense. But for Liam, it's like, and especially I'm not swing, so the swings do take a lot of the rehearsal.
Oh, good for them. But he's talked about how like doing like 12 shows like in 1 week, and I can just imagine like. But he was very relaxed about it. He said, yeah, it gets tough from time to time. I'm like, 12 shows a week.
Yeah, that's mental. We'll often do 9-show weeks. I say often, we'll do 9-show weeks. We've got a lot coming in the lead up to Christmas. We'll do a lot of 9 shows. Yeah. And then, like 9 Les Mis is a long time. But, we do get, you do get paid for your 9th show. And we often, like, for instance, we're off this week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm not in till Thursday morning. So really, I'll get 3 days off, which will obviously then they'll put a 9-show week. I'd rather a day off and do an extra show and do an extra matinee day. And I think they're really fair with that. I think, they look at that. We had a day off for the Queen's funeral, and they moved that to another matinee. So we had 2 doubles back to back, which is, for laymen, for the ball, the people who are singing the big stuff, Antonada cover and Brujon, the vocal is not as demanding for me, but for someone else, if you're Valjean, it's going to be tricky, isn't it?
Absolutely. I'm curious to know about the stories. Like, do you have any like funny audience stories? Because there's these famous ones like Al Pacino getting into the audience when a phone rings and he's going, Al, I'm acting, go away. But but do you have any funny stories like from any days of the tour, or even from your Caesar days as well?
Oh yeah, trying to think of the ones that are all right to say.
You can say any of them, mate. Any one of them.
We Uncensored Critic. We had a bit of a tasty one actually, where it was an accident actually. The barricade sat on fire in Cardiff.
What?
It was fixed and handled really well, obviously, by the company. But it's just one of these accidents that happens. We have flambeaux, we have live fire in the show. Got tripped, fell on the back curtain, and the barricade lit. The audience thought it was real, which is pretty cool. So that's one thing. But we do have some funny, just inappropriate noises at inappropriate times is usually the main culprit of making us have a little giggle. We're back. Because it's the barricade. The barricade, we're all on stage, and little fall of rain's happening, and these really quiet moments, and you'll just have what feels like the most projectile sneezes or coughing fits or stuff like that. And it's silly, isn't it? But but on the whole, we do have a very funny one in Glasgow actually, which was we're in this production. The convicts were on a big boat, so we're rowing. It's like we're rowing on this big boat. You're looking straight out, so you see in the audience, you're seeing the latecomers or whatever. And on the front row, we're in Glasgow, and on the front row, saw a load of commotion, lights and various torch lights and stuff from the front of the house. I mean, it kept going for a lot of the number, and obviously Valjean's doing his big prologue there. It's a bit his big soliloquy. It's a real, intense bit for him. And he's like, that's so off-putting what's gone on. Turns out that the people have got their tickets wrong, and they thought they were coming to see. I don't know how this has happened. It says on the ticket. They thought they were coming to see the Joshua fight. The Anthony Joshua fight. Like live screening of the Anthony Joshua fight.
What?
Like how out of your mind are you that you get there and not realise. But they thought they were at the Anthony Joshua fight. And obviously, when a big orchestra starts playing the Les Mis prologue into Valjean's soliloquy, they realise that actually they're not at the live screening of the Anthony Joshua fight. They are at Les Miserables. So that was quite a funny one.
Wait, hang on a sec.
Yeah. They thought they were at a live screening. That's what they thought they were going to see. How it's on the ticket, I don't know. Were they meant to come and see Les Mis and they got the wrong tickets? I'm not sure. But I think or they were gifted them, I'm not sure. But they thought they were at the Anthony Joshua fight screening and they were actually at Les Mis, which I think is hilarious.
I mean, surely you walk into a theatre and it's people there with the programs and the set and
we have a preset which is a gauze which has Les Mis on it.
You know, and they still ignored that.
There's Les Mis around. Like they're on the front row. Like how out of the skull are they that they yeah. That's a funny one. We have lots of little funny bits that happen on stage as well. You know, I'm a big believer of like the funny stuff will happen. Like making each other laugh is not funny, really. It gets a bit boring. Whereas when something funny happens, it's just great, and that's theatre, and people love it. We have the Thénardiers in the wedding scene have these big metal plates that they throw like they're stealing them, and they get caught and they get thrown in the air and they land on the ground.
Yeah.
They'll roll off into the pit and hit one of the players, or they'll roll in, and stuff like that. Those little moments of things happening, but
that's fantastic.
Not too many about us getting in trouble.
That's fantastic. I just have a few more things for you, Adam, today, just before we sort of finish. What's it like being Mr. T, being Thénardier?
Yeah, I'd sat on it for a long time, not doing it, being a second cover, but then I got on in Hull, which was amazing. I loved it. I was actually really chuffed with myself. It had been about 4 months since I'd done it before in rehearsals or cover runs or whatever. So it's been a long time of not doing something. And I just, did it. I did, it just went really well. and I was really happy with how it went. I did it. I most recently did it about 3 times, and it went really well. It's a businessy track. There's lots of business. There's lots of little bitty bits in them, pickpocketing, and so so you mind off things like that. But when you know something so well, it just happens. And it was nice to prove to myself that I can do it. It's a big part. But yeah, loved it. And the first time I went on, my fiance who lives in London, he's a primary school teacher in London. Because it was a 2-show day, I found out about 9 o'clock in the morning that I'd be on. So she got on. She managed to get out of work early. I don't know what the kids did. Got out of work early, got on a train, and she was in Hull for the second show, which was really nice. So she got to see first, bless her. And then she was on a train the next day at 5 o'clock in the morning to get back to London to be in school for 9 o'clock.
Wow.
Yeah. Shout out as far as she's concerned.
Yeah. What's your fiance's name?
Laura.
Shout out to Laura there. Wow. She loves you, man.
Well, but I loved it. Want to do it some more. Great, fab.
Fantastic. So just a couple more things for you today. I've loved hearing your stories, man. This has been such a cool conversation. So I think the main thing, you again going back to that Zoom call you had with us a few weeks ago, which was all about just keeping the faith and just keep going with things. Because I like we said before we came on today, I'm in a position where I'm writing to agents at the moment. I've had one email back sort of saying, okay, we're going to look at it. We'll be in touch and stuff like that. And I'll be honest, I had a bit of a moment yesterday. I thought, I sat by a computer just staring at an inbox which wouldn't have any new emails. And I kind of slip into this feeling of like, oh God, is this what it's gonna be and stuff like that. And obviously I know it's not, but obviously we have those moments of weakness in life. But what's your advice to actors just coming out of drama school now, and to just how do they keep the faith that it's going to be okay?
It's so tricky because it's always like preaching to the choir, because I know come January I'm doing the same thing, you know what I mean?
Of course.
I'm sat there worrying, and I'm a worrier, and I'm already going, oh God, what,
Yeah, me too.
How can I cope? And I already in my head, I have my little coping things that, because listen, it's a waiting game.
Yeah.
It is a waiting game. Whether you're waiting to get an agent, or you're waiting to hear back from an audition, or you're waiting for an audition, or it's the actual time of waiting and how in your head you are. Because it's not, you sort of run your own business. I run Adam Boardman Limited, which is that of an actor, and the only people I have to talk about the business who understand it really is me, and that's why you get in your head about it. I think keeping yourself busy, you doing things like this, podcasts, or I have your hobbies, things like that. You've got to really keep on top of it. And the one advice I was given, and I say this all the time in my Surviving 30 Years Out talks, is if you do one thing a day, Monday to Friday, that makes you feel or is a part of your career, that is aiding your career. I'm not saying you do something wild. I'm not saying you go out and email 50 people every day. I'm not saying that. Send one email. Send look at one, read Apple. You do something a day that just makes you, even if it's watch something on telly and then you go, I really enjoy it. Who cast it? Put it into a little spreadsheet, whatever, you know what I mean? Something that's going to tick you over, that's just keeping you connected to the industry when you're feeling as distant from it as you can. Because there is moments where you do feel really far away from it. Because we all have friends, all of our mates are in it. Some of our mates are doing well, some of them are working, some of our mates are in times where it's not going so well for him, or that it's just life for an actor.
Yeah, of course.
I think if you can just feel in control of it, just a little bit by doing that one thing. I'm not saying slot, that's the Monday to Friday, like working week. I'm a big believer of work hard, play hard. I'm a real work-life balance. I think is really important.
Yeah.
I think that really helps. So even if don't send 50 emails in a day, spread it out a little bit. Do 5 or 10 a day over a week, because then you're ticking. It's ticking over, and it's still happening. Instead of I'm bad for it. I'll have a day with a laptop. I'm like, oh great, smash out a load of stuff, and then I'm like twiddling my thumbs for the next 3 days. Going, I'm not in this routine of working as an actor.
Yeah.
And that's what I'd say about that, definitely.
That's brilliant, mate. Yeah, that's really,
a little bit of advice. That just do a little thing that just makes you feel connected with it, even if it's just bloody reading a publication, stage, an article, something that just keeps you in the loop.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. Yeah, and I'll admit I've been caught in this trap of sending like email after email every day, thinking, okay, I've got to get it out today, and then for the next few days I thought, well, I can't follow up because I sent him an email 2 days ago. I'll be honest, I invited Alex Jennings onto the show. I don't know him, but I got his agent's details and stuff. And I'll be honest, I sent one email a few too many times, and I get an email back saying, Oliver, we've got your request. You don't need to send us any more emails. And so I wrote back saying, oh, sorry about that. And turned out it wasn't available, but hey, so.
That's it. You want to come across, it's the fine line between keen and sort of over eager, isn't it? And because there's a fine line between that. And I think, how the gentle we don't know what's going on in people's minds. They might be thinking, oh shit, gotta get back to online, gotta do that, when actually that isn't their mind. So it's a tricky line to cross. I just think if you send an email, you don't get a reply, I think you can send a follow-up. If you don't get a reply from that, then you need to leave it for some time, I think, just because they're obviously not in his face. Doesn't say never email them again, but email them with something else another time, and it might hit a better, you email someone when they're in the busiest month of their life. We don't necessarily we don't know that, do we? So
exactly. Yeah. And I love that thing you said to us about keeping some money in your back pocket so you can treat yourself like once in a while. That's a nice thing I think
you've got to. I think actors, there's this, I hate this trope, because when I do this talk, I've done this talk now to like 600-700 grads, and there's often this feeling that actors have to be penniless, creatives who can't enjoy their lives because they're an actor. It's not punishment being an actor. Like, we should enjoy it. We do it because we love it. But make sure you've got that little rainy day fund. I'm not saying, you know, keep a load of money so you can go away for a week to Ibiza. I'm just saying, if it's shit day, or you've had an audition, or you've gone and done something that you're proud of, like, fucking go and have a beer, man. You know what I mean? Go and do what you enjoy. Like, for me, that would be go and treat myself, going out for dinner and having a beer with my mates or with me, you know, with fiance. Like, that's great. I think it's important to do that. If you sit and stare at your laptop, stare at your phone, not working what we call muggle jobs or extra jobs to keep the bills over, and you're just starving yourself of fun to be an actor, then they're the people who don't do it for as long, I think.
Yeah.
How can that be sustained?
No, that's absolutely true. Do you think there's any sort of, I know you, as you say, you do this to actors all the time you give this talk, and, you know, I'm very grateful for your time. If you've like, if you have felt like, okay, I'll repeat today, then
oh no, not at all. This talk came about because I was asked to do some work at the Actors Centre after I did the Alan Bates Award years ago, and they were like, "Can you come in and do a talk? Come in and do a workshop?" I was like, "Oh, I don't know what I'm gonna." I was only 2 years out of drama school at this point. I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Right.
I don't feel like, what do I have to offer to people who have, you know, just graduated? And one thing I thought was, actually, I would love to have known what it was going to be like just ahead of me. We had an actor come in and do a talk like this at GSA for us, but he graduated before I was born.
Oh.
Fab actor, loads of great stories, but it was just, I wanted to know what it was going to be like next year when I leave, not what it was like in 1992 on the set of whatever.
Yeah, it's very true.
And that's why I started it. And then in lockdown, it just took off, and I'm now thinking about like treatment for a book as well.
Wow.
Yeah, so I just think it's something that I think it's nice when I get feedback from it, because it puts people at ease a little bit, because I'm honest and I'll say this is my experiences. This, you know, it's not always easy.
Oh yeah, never change, man. Don't change.
Honestly. Yeah. Like, you've got to be honest with people, because like my partner Laura, she trained and decided at the end of third year that, well, during drama school, that it wasn't for her, and she then used that training that she's got to go and do something else. And I think it's important that we don't just, and drama schools don't just talk about acting. I know we go and do an acting course, so obviously it's going to be about acting, but I think when we do any sort of professional development stuff, it doesn't always have to be about being an actor. Because the likelihood of 30 people that leave drama school in a year, all 30 of them being actors, is literally non-existent. 10 of them will act. The other 20 will find new ways and different things that they want to do. And, you know, I've got mates that are now writers, Ross and Tom, friends that are, you know, agents, friends that are casting directors, friends that are teachers, friends that, you know, there's so much you can do with the degree. Because actors, we're professional blaggers, we're very, we're easy to get on with. Transferable skills from an acting degree are huge. And I think that needs to be pushed a little bit more in drama schools. Yeah, not just this. I know GSA have this reel. I think it might have changed now, but I remember turning up and it was just this reel of people who were working in the industry, but it was only people who were working on stage or on screen. It was never the people who were directors or people who were doing other exciting things. It was always the credits from the West End. Yeah, and I'd love to see that with different professions within the industry, because I think that's what it should be about.
Yeah, it's not. We don't have that reel anyway. I never saw a reel my time there this year.
I think it's stopped now. Yeah, they had like a presentation thing.
Yeah. That's right. I think they do more of that on their like Instagram pages and stuff. Yeah. So they'll say like Adam Boardman starring as tonight in Bristol,
and that's great. That's great. We absolutely like applaud that. Put that on. Great.
Absolutely.
There's other people doing great stuff as well.
Yeah. One girl got a cover for Christine in Phantom like during term time, and I remember the whole building just erupted in applause, and like they stopped lessons. Everyone was just out on all three levels just applauding this girl.
That's what it's about. That's
yeah, absolutely. I've forgotten her name, but I've been in touch with her and I said congratulations and stuff like that. I'm sure she's doing great work and stuff.
Yeah, because that's just started, that cast change. So
yeah. I know someone who's doing well, a friend of a friend is cover for Raoul now
Yeah.
in at Her Majesty's Theatre and stuff, and yeah, doing really well. But yeah, man, this has been so much fun, man. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
today,
Yeah,
man.
thanks for inviting me on.
Yeah, good. I just have one final question for you today, just to finish things off, which I say to all my guests, which is, what's been an experience or experiences that you've had in your time with the acting industry today that you'll never forget?
Two instances, really. One being a little bit selfish, and that's obviously going on as Thenardier, just amazing. First time doing that and having all my peers behind me applaud me, and then, you know, big reaction up front, amazing. That's a fab moment. But the other one was when we were doing Caesar. Like I said, we used to go into schools and do a performance here or there. And we were in one school, and they warned us about this school. They said they're saying it's a rough school. It was in London. Rough school. We had people come in before. It's not worked. Like, be prepared for things to go a bit wrong. Meaning the students, that was a primary school, students aren't going to get involved. And I remember the first 5 or 10 minutes was a bit ropey, you know, a few heckles or whatever, you know. But there was the scene, spoiler alert, where we kill Caesar. And I remember there's the moment it's happened. We've done the fight. It was brutal, a fight we did, actually, you know, big knife fight. And we finished, and 300, 400 kids, and there wasn't not a sound. And I remember I had opportunities to sort of look around a little bit, and you just had 300 or 400 kids literally on the edge of their seats. Kids that the people who were in the school had written off. They're going to hate this. They're going to hate this. And we'd shown them our play, and they were on the edge of their seats with it. And that was just like, this is cool. This is acting, but also I feel like I'm doing something, you know, it's scratching, you know, I'm getting paid, I'm feeling great, but it's also doing something else for someone else. And I think that's what's important. That was a good one.
Wow. I'd love to have been in that moment of just like,
it's cool. It's cool.
Yeah.
I'm sure they then started heckling later on in the play, but for that moment and cursing when they were in the fourth act and it's getting a bit long, but for that moment, we had 300 kids from an underprivileged area who were written off by teachers in the palm of our hands.
Fantastic. I wish I was there for that, just to hear that silence that you get in the theatre at times. There's nothing else quite like it. But yeah, well, that's amazing. Adam, thank you so much for today, man. It's been great seeing you again. I've learned even more from you today, and it's a real testament to how much just you being your authentic self and like you talking today and everything. It's been a huge pleasure to hear it, and I know for a fact you've given me a lot more to be thankful for, a lot more to be hopeful for. I'm grateful for this. I'm sure that people who watch and the people who listen to this will as well, and just shows that we need more people like you. And you know, we want to hear your words, and I want to read your book when it comes out as well. I'm looking forward to that. So but yeah, just quickly on a personal note, you and Laura, have you set a date yet at all?
Yes, we're getting married in April next year, so that's something to look forward to. But also terrible timing, because I finished in January Les Mis, and then I have a big wedding in the middle of Easter. And what job's going to take me on when I'm getting married? Look forward to it. It's going to be good.
Yeah, well, I'm sure it'll be a great ceremony, and you know, shout out to Laura again as well, and Ross and Tom and everyone else there. But cool, man. If you just hang on, I'll finish the recording and I'll say goodbye to you one-to-one. But guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. This is the Uncensored Critic podcast, and I'll be back again soon. Once again, Adam Boardman, thank you, sir.